I thank you for joining me. This is a program that is entitled Integrative Theology, and I am your host, Bishop Dr. Derek A. Reeves. Today we're going to continue as we finish the third supplemental lecture to Lecture 13, which was entitled First Mind, First Thought Theology. Tonight we're going to talk about God's knowledge allows his nature. It's very important because when we speak of the knowledge of God, we're talking about the cogitatio, or the understanding that God has within his knowledge that is already set, that is already very vast, that is omniscient, that is ongoing, that is infinite. And so when we speak of God's knowledge allowing his nature to be, we have to begin to understand, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. And so the thinker of the thought of thought, it indicates as we delve a little deeper, God engaged in thinking his eternal thought, the thought that set the stage for a new reality to come into being. The thought that set the stage for the imagio, for the image of the words and the information that were in the mind of God since time began and way before. The image of the very cogitatio, the image of the thoughts of thought that were in his mind. It allows him to perform as God because he is the thinker of the thought of thought. He is the originator of the thought of thought. He is the beginning of the power of thought that is divested into all sentient beings. He thinks, and what he thinks becomes the substance of reality. He speaks it either telepathically or, as the Latins call, verbum, speaks it vocally. Vocalis speaks it and releases the minciological words, the words of information that are locked within his mind. He unleashes it, and it becomes the foundation from which all substantial material or essential material arises into reality. The fact that he thinks and the fact that he knows, he is aware of himself. Always remember that the aspects of the mind are, number one, cognition or intellect, emotion or feelings, volition or will, but it is also what we would call awareness. The aspect of the mind is also individuality. And so God as an individual being who has always been, God as an individual being who was never created, who was never moved, but he is the unmoved mover. He is aware of who he is. He is aware of how he thinks. He is aware of his omnipotence. He is aware of his omniscience. He is aware of everything that he is. He's aware of his transcendence. He is aware that he is both outside of time and space, and yet within time and space, and yet is not time and space. He, in his awareness, with his delicate capacity to create and sustain his creation, and yet be greater than his creation, is a result of his omniscience. He is all-knowing, therefore he is all-power. He is all-knowing, therefore he knows that he is everywhere. He knows by reason of his mind. He knows by reason of his presence. He knows by reason and virtue of who and what he is. He knows, he senses, he is aware, of all things in their existence, all things in their rise, and in their entropic fall in what we call the material world. He knows the rise of our thoughts, of our minds, and the entropic failure that comes as our minds begin to cease because of the eradication of the system that links us into this world, to the human body. It is his knowledge that gives him the capacity to be, to think, and to do all that he is. He cannot stop being all-powerful, all-knowing, and everywhere, because the nature of his knowledge is immutable. It can never change. It can never stop being what it is. Therefore, his knowing how and what and when and where to execute wisdom or knowledge through wisdom and sound judgment can never stop. The knowledge of God is what enables him to be active as God. His knowledge gives him the power to flow through his nature. So his knowledge is the catalyst of his nature. He and his thinking are one. He and being the thinker of the thought of thought are one. Therefore, his nature is tied into who and what he is. His nature is tied into the spiritual aspect of who he is, living spirit, breath-like qualities to be everywhere whenever he chooses. Why? Because he's everywhere and he can solidify or he can reveal his presence in multiple places because he is in every place. I'm going to stop right here. I thank you for joining me. This has been Integrative Theology, and I am your host, Bishop Dr. Derek A. Reeves. Until next time, God bless you and keep you.